Hi, and welcome back to another Mr. Talbot Maths video. So what we're looking at this week is quadratics, and I'm going to talk very quickly about what they are. You probably know what they are. You might not be familiar with the name, and then looking at ways that we can factorise them, because factorising is a very useful tool with quadratics for looking for solutions, which are very useful in terms of plotting the graphs and lots of other different things. So yeah, we're going to look at factorising, and we're going to look at some quite difficult questions. One of them is in the thumbnail, but obviously it's missing the middle bit, and I've put in there exploding the middle. What the heck's that all about? So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to tell you, and it should make, once we've grasped it, it should make factorising those more challenging questions a lot easier. So let's get to it. Right, so exploding the middle. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but first I want to show you, I suppose, well, the way that I was taught when I was younger. I learned how to do this way, and it was a bit more of trial and error, really. So this might be something that you're used to or something that you know. So for instance, this quadratic here. Now, I said I was going to talk about what a quadratic is. Now, a quadratic is an expression where the highest power is a 2. Okay, so it's squared, and really they usually only have one variable in. So like here, you've only got x's in, or you might only have y in, or another letter. So usually that's what people would refer to a quadratic as being. Okay, now that's out of the way. I'm going to go through how we would factorise this. Now, because we've got all three terms here, we're going to expect that we're going to use two brackets. Okay, and we're going to have an x at the front of both of these. And then I want to think about what would multiply to give me negative 56. Okay, and they're going to have to multiply to give me negative 56 and add to give me 1x, because if there's not a number there in front of your variable, then that means it's just 1. Okay, so we need numbers that multiply to give negative 56 and add to give 1. So I'm going to just go through my factors of negative 56 and just see which factor pairs will add to give me 1. There should just be one that will work. Okay, so obviously with it being negative, I've got to have one negative and one positive. So negative 1 times 56, negative 2 times by, what would that be, 25, 28. Negative 3 won't work. Negative 4 should work. So what would that? It would go into 5 once, carry the 1, so 14. Okay, 5 won't work. Negative 6 won't work. Negative 7 times by 8. Now, I've already found that actually it's going to be this one down here, negative 7 and 8. Okay, so negative 7 plus 8 in my brackets. And then that is fully factorised. Okay, so that's how it works for something like this, which is relatively simple. But the problem comes when you have something which is trickier like this, because it's got a number in front of the x squared, a constant in front of the x squared. And the main problem with this is I now don't know whether it's going to be 6x and 2x, or it's going to be 3x and 4x. So I've got, it could also be 1x and 12x. I've got loads of different options, even just for this first bit, the first bit in the brackets. And that's without thinking about my factors of negative 2 and then how they would fit in to make that work. So that's going to take quite a lot of trial and error. Now, exploding the middle is a method which is going to make this a lot easier, because we're not going to have so much trial and error. And the way we do that is this first constant here, you're going to multiply that by this last constant. Okay, so we're going to treat that as negative 2. So we get 12 times negative 2, and that gives us negative 24. Okay, now what we want to do here is we want to write down the factor pairs of negative 24, and we want to find the factor pair which adds to negative 5. So let's start going through it systematically. So negative 1 times 24, negative 2 times by 12, negative 3 times by 8. Well, that will add to 5, not negative 5, but it's pretty close. Negative 4 times 6. Right, so I've done all of the ones where the negative's on the left-hand side now. So I'm just going to rewrite this, but with the negative on the right-hand side. So 1 times negative 24, 2 times by negative 12, 3 times by negative 8. And one of these factor pairs should add up to give me negative 5. And you've probably already realised it's this one down here. So 3 times by negative 8. Now this is where the exploding the middle bit comes in, because basically you're splitting the middle up, and sometimes this is called splitting the middle as well, into 3x and negative 8x. So we're going to get 12x squared, and I'm going to split this minus 5x up into plus 3x minus 8x, and then I've still got the minus 2. So this middle bit would give me minus 5x. I've just broken it apart into two numbers, which I know are factors of negative 24. Now, from there, what I want to do is I want to look at this bit here, first two terms, and I want to look at the last two terms. And I want to factorise these two things separately. So, looking at the first two terms, I can factorise out 3 and an x. And that would leave me with 4x plus 1. Okay, now I should get this same bracket when I factorise these last two terms. Okay, so keep that in mind because that's going to be helpful. Now from here I can factorise out a negative 2, and then again I'm going to get 4x plus 1. Now at this point I'm basically done because I've got both of these things, this first term here and this second term, have both got a factor of 4x plus 1 in them. So 4x plus 1 is one factor, and the other factor is, well, 3x and minus 2. So that's it. That is my fully factorised expression there of 12x squared minus 5x minus 2 is equal to 4x plus 1, 3x minus 2. Okay, and that's made it a lot easier and probably saved me quite a bit of time during an exam. Okay, now the next thing just to look at is we have just one variable there. What about something like this where, well, in this question I've got 3 variables. I've got w, y and z. Now what we'll find here is that actually with this you won't be able to simplify the middle bit. You won't be able to collect those two terms together, so you end up with 4 terms, but that's fine because it works in exactly the same way. So these first two terms we're going to factorise, and the last two terms we're going to factorise. So factorising this, I can divide both terms here by 3x. So factorise 3x out of those two and I get y plus z. Now bear in mind we should have this bracket again in these last two terms. So I'm going to factorise out here a minus w, and I get y plus z again. Okay, now I've got this bracket, this factor of both my two terms now, so I'm going to factorise that out, y plus z, and then I've got 3x minus w. W, just skip the middle bit out, which is quite ironic considering this is called exploding the middle. Okay, so that'll be our answer. That's fully factorised now then. And for something which looks really complicated, once you grasp this method, it makes the questions, like this style of question, a lot easier, a lot more straightforward, which is very, very useful. Okay, and then the final things to have a look at are these two types of questions. So we've got here x squared minus xy minus 6y squared. Now we've got two variables, we've also got some numbers in there. Okay, now that doesn't matter. It works in exactly the same way. So let's call that 1x squared minus 6. So we do 1 times minus 6, or negative 6, gives us negative 6. So we're looking for factor pairs of negative 6 that add to give negative 1, because that's our coefficient of that middle term there. Okay, so negative 1 times negative 6, that's not quite right, is it? Because that would give me positive 6. Negative 1 times by 6 negative 2 times by 3. Adding those together would give me 1. Like that, I need negative 1. So you can imagine what it's going to be at this point. 1 times negative 6, and then we've got 2 times negative 3, which is the factor pair that we want there. So we're going to split this minus 1xy into 2xy and minus 3xy. So I've got x squared plus 2xy minus 3xy minus 6y squared. Now, a good question, which you may have thought already, and I did when I first discovered this method, is actually, does it matter which way round you put this explosion of the middle? Does it matter if I put the minus 3xy first and the 2xy second? Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't matter at all. So you don't have to worry about that. It's literally just looking at factor pairs. That's it. So again, I'm going to factorise the first two terms, and they've both got an x in. So I'm going to take the factor of x out, and then I get left with x plus 2y. Now remember, this bracket should also be in the second bit. And looking at this, they're both negative, and I can take out a factor of minus 3 y, because they've both got y in. Okay, now that is going to give me x for the first bit, and then I'm going to get plus 2y again, which is exactly what I needed to have. So, again, take this bracket now and put that out the front. So x plus 2y, and what are we left with? Well, x outside the first bracket, minus 3y outside the second. So x minus 3y. So again, something which is really complicated, even just looking at it, we can factorise it quite easily once we are comfortable with this method, which is brilliant. Okay, the final one here, this is the one in the thumbnail if you weren't, well, you wouldn't have been sure, you can't see the middle bit, but this is, they'll promise you this is the one, minus 8ab. 3a squared minus 8ab minus 3b squared. Okay, now we've got coefficients in front of the first term and the last term, okay, but the same process applies. 3 times negative 3 gives negative 9, and so that's what we want to do our factor pairs of. So 1 times negative 9, actually, I found the right factor pair there on the first go, because 1 subtract 9 give me negative 8. Just for, you know, just for the sake of it, I'm going to finish off filling these factor pairs in. So 3 times negative 3, and then negative 1 times 9, and then negative 3 times 3, which is exactly the same as this one anyway. Okay, so yeah, 1 times by negative 9 is what I want. So, explode the middle, 3a squared plus ab minus 9ab minus 3b squared. Now, factorise again the first two terms. They both got an a in them, so I'm going to take the a out the front. I get a, and then 3a plus b. And then this one, I've got a factor of minus 3. I've also got a factor of b. And so that leaves me with, well, negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. I've got the b already, so I just need an a in here. And then plus, and then I've already got the negative 3. I've got a b. I need one more b for b squared, so plus b. Again, take this bracket out the front, so 3a plus b. And then I've got a minus 3b. Okay, and that's it. So, as always, I hope this was useful. If it was useful, if you did enjoy the video, if this is a new method that you think you might use, that, you know, like I say, might be useful, make sure to like the video, because that, you know, helps me, and also subscribe with the bell notification so you don't miss any videos in future. I'm going to be making videos every single week, coming out at 5 o'clock every Monday. Okay, and if there's a topic you want, please put it down in the comments, and I'll make sure that I go over that for you. Okay, see you in the next one. Bye-bye.